Okay, we have another shoutcast for you. Another old shoutcast. And this game was played on the Winter Tournament beta, which was R61 something, R6100. Of course, this was the build used in the Winter Tournament. And this game is also known as the April Fool's game, or at least that is how I like to say it. And it was played on April 1st, in 2014. So it's almost a year old, this game. And I've actually made this shoutcast twice before, and uploaded it to YouTube 2 times, but had to take it down because both times there were problems with the recording. Third time's a charm. Hopefully it works this time. And what makes this game more of a April Fool's game than just being played on April 1st is that everyone went for an unusual build order. It was agreement before the game, and 5 of 6 players went through on that agreement. Botso was the only player who went to meta strategy. Whether he just felt like doing something normal or didn't trust the other players to do funny strategies, he went for a strong standard sword plus bow strategy, and everyone else did something interesting. So hopefully this should be a fun game to watch, and you will enjoy it. The teams were played top versus bottom, and this is Koczis on location 1. Possibilities for unusual strategies here are no leather strategies because of the lack of farmland. I'm going to turn the game sound down just a little bit. And other possibilities, double stable perhaps, maybe go 4 farms and then go maybe 3 fishermen to feed entirely on fish, since there is 140 fish in this lake slash river slash ocean, whatever you want to call it. This fish is shared with his teammate, so he needs to have some kind of agreement there beforehand. And his teammate on the other side of the river is Toe. Very nice location, very few trees that start, you can see this, so you need to plant early. In fact, planting immediately, probably 2 woodcutters planting. This guy down here will be planting quite a bit since he only has a few trees to cut, so that's a nicely located woodcutter. And these 2 woodcutters will be cutting quite a bit. And then maybe you'll put a woodcutter down here, or more than likely just extending north and continuing wood production in one area. Having all your wood located in one area is of course ideal, since all your sawmills will be located near there. Though saying that, you do want to keep in mind that if your sawmills are within the center of your city, your timber will be delivered to building sites faster. And it's not such a big deal, as it's just 1 delivery from trunk to your sawmill, whereas it would be 2 deliveries from your sawmill to a building, since it's 1 trunk goes to 2 timber. So something to keep in mind, perhaps having your sawmills in the center of your base is better than having them by your woodcutters. But that's all beside the point. Yep, Toe ended up going for a woodcutter down here, and another one in this area to cut some trees. Still has 10 timber left, he should be okay. But hard to say. Is there really no more trees on this map? I guess there's some over here, but very far away. I've never actually played a full game on this location, only a 20-minute game with some randoms. Obviously, 20 minutes it was not finished. Anyway, we'll go over to Bludmaster, and location 4 is, in my opinion, the best location on the map. It has a similar problem as, I think it's location 5 over here that Toe is playing on, in that it has very few starting trees, but if you plant early and are able to cut, and you're cutting all trees at just the right time, you can have a very nice base, as you can fit everything in just this small area here. Very nice compact base. And that's my kind of style, bases that are really pushed together and you're not using up a lot of space. A small base that works more efficiently is better than a big base that is producing a lot. And you can see Romek, he does already have double armor smithy up, so is obviously going iron only or very late leather. More than likely he'll just go for a stable though at this point. Going late game leather is probably less advantageous to going just leather or iron only, and of course this is the April Fool's game, so he's doing something interesting. We do see a farm here, so probably going to go for knights later. And this is Botso, normal strategy. He is going iron at a pretty reasonable time. 2 armor smithies right away, actually. Pretty reasonable time. Will be quite nice. He'll have 30 sword fighters if this production stays nice. And we'll go double weapon smithy later on to catch up with the armor. You really should avoid building by this bridge, as what makes location 2, the crutch of location 2, is that it's really hard for location 2 to bring soldiers to the battlefield, since this bridge is so small and it's kind of awkward to walk down through here. So for location 2 here to send soldiers to the battlefield, it's important that this bridge area is rather open, and you'll see the swine farm later on does become a problem. So we'll have to do something about that. Alright, and this is myself playing on location 6. A tricky location, as stone is an opposite of your starting trees, so you should plant early up here, get your sawmill built if you want to go for a fast farm, but I believe it's better just to go down here, get wood production going on down here, maybe a second or third woodcutter down here before you start going for farms, as you will have really bad problems with timber, as your sawmill will not be running until much later because of the lack of trees from the start. And here I am going no leather strategy also. This farm, or swine farm, or excuse me, stable, not being provided with sufficient corn, so he's not too productive right now. A fourth farm going up for me now. Hopefully it will help catch up on production. This weapons workshop here is an unwise decision, as I am already struggling on making ends meet timber. So don't know why I made that so early. You can see wood is completely turned off to the weapon workshop, so it's just kind of pointless to do that. Alright, and we'll go down and see how Koczis is doing. He's going for quite some leather, actually. We've seen 3 pig farms already, but only 3 farms. So, as I always say, it's not ideal to balance your corn production out amongst swine farms and stables, as you will mostly only achieve lots of piglets or lots of ponies, and your corn won't actually end up producing you won't get anything to show for the corn you've been consuming. You won't get anything to show for the corn you've been consuming, because it's all being balanced out to just grow a bunch of livestock but not enough to slaughter or take the horses out into the barracks. Obviously you'll catch up later, but you can be setting yourself back a lot if you have a lack of corn. And you'll see here later, unless he gets this 5th farm up or somehow gets corn in some other way, you don't see any other farms, he's going to have some problems with his efficiency in the swine farms. And you can already see here he is completely out of corn in some of these buildings, and they will be not working quite a bit. And you can see here all 3 of these are going to be idle for a little while, as he's got no corn in the city whatsoever. And this is why having 3 swine farms can actually be less efficient than just having 2, as it's going to be a while before you can get anything to show for that corn being consumed. And he is going pikes, you see he's going pikes and bowmen, which is a nice combination if you're going for sheer numbers, as bows and pikes are obviously only requiring 2 weapons as opposed to 3 or 4 with swords and knights in regard to that. So therefore, if he's going up against someone with swords and bows, he will have more numbers and has some more possibility for flanking, although of course pikes not superior to swords in respect to if they're bows on the battlefield. Pikemen are actually stronger than sword fighters in just the melee concept, since pikes are much cheaper. But when you put bows into the game, bowmen will shoot down pikemen like crazy. They'll die like flies, so really important to have sword fighters in games where there are lots of bows. Perhaps Koczis suspects that some players are going mass militia, so having lots of pike to counter mass militia can be quite nice. Toe going double stable. And some leather too, and this is already looking like a pretty decent build. They'll have maybe 10 to 15 leather, and some knights as well, so this can be nice if he can get some complementary axe fighters, or, well, not axe fighters, but complementary militia to go along with his, to give a little extra melee bonus, as he's not going to have too many knights, but actually will have about 25, which is still pretty decent, considering if you had just 25 sword fighters, not so nice, but 25 knights is still a very strong melee force. And Bludmaster has quite a large army here. He's looking like he might have 35 and 70 militia even, depending on how many weapons workshop he has. Okay, only 3, but they're not all working very hard. So he's not going to get too many more militia, maybe 60 tops by the time peacetime is here. And Romek has many swords already, and a few knights, so his army is already looking quite a bit better than Bludmaster's, as he's lacking, doesn't even have half as many militia as Blood has, though he does have some more knights. Saying that again, he is trading some axes away to militia, or to horses, which I think is a good trade. You always want to have some horses. Not as important as back in the desert, since you do have the scout already to do scouting, and he is in a pocket. Oh no, he's not. Toe is the pocket location. Nevertheless, having one mounted unit to do some scouting and chase down running away archers can really make a difference in the game. And Botso, normal army, nothing special to see there. Swords and bows, and myself. Just in time. Going quite a few knights here, and, well, 22 knights, and some militia, a little bit of swords if I like to go for them instead of waiting for the horses. And, oh, you can see I traded some axe for a horse, it seems. Not sure how many. We'll be interested to see if I can figure that out later in the statistics. Koczis having lacking recruits, which is very important when considering going bowmen and pikemen. 50 recruits would have been enough if he would have made sword fighters. Well, maybe a little shy of enough, but he is lacking the recruits for a pike and bow army, and he almost has 50 leather, which is pretty dang good, but he is lacking the bows to go with them, which will catch up nicely. He has 3 weapons workshops, all producing only bows. They'll catch up very fast since he is done building. And Toe having about 15 leather, like I said, but went for bows and knights, and he has 25 knights, some sword fighters, and 1 militia scout perhaps. But this is a very solid army. Having 17 leather doesn't look like much, but by the time you get about, I don't know, about 5 minutes, he's going to have enough for maybe 30 bows, and 30 bows and 30 knights is a very strong combination. The knights being able to push hard and survive long time in the battle, while the range units help support. And we see Bludmaster having about 80 soldiers. Well, let's see, about 90, but lacking recruits. Many militia. I'm still liking Romek's army more. He has almost 50 sword fighters. He does have double weapons smithy, so in just a couple of minutes he'll have 50 sword fighters, and has enough recruits for all this too. 50, 70, about just enough recruits, but some knights too, and those extra few knights and the extra 15 or so sword fighters are really gonna make his army stand out in the light of Bludmaster. Also, very nice army, but again, lacking recruits, heavily lacking recruits. I think he has leaving less than Koczis, yeah. So, and that's a problem when you have this kind of army and you don't have the recruits, and it's going to be very hard to catch up unless, okay, he does have 3 metallurgists, that is wise. Good decision by him, as it's going to be very hard to catch up. And I accidentally stopped the replay, but I hope and pray that okay, it's still running. Okay, good. Okay. The only problem is I'm gonna have to pay attention because when the game is over, it's gonna just keep running. It won't tell me when the game is over. But nevertheless, the game continues to run as it should. I got really panicked there because I do not want to record the shoutcast for a 4th time. And if it doesn't work this time, I might just give up, even though it's a really interesting game. I'll just ask someone else to shoutcast it because I'm sick of watching. And here you see the scout dying. Really pay attention to your scouting units. It could be really annoying to losing your scouting potential. And you can see here, Toe is along with Koczis, and they're going to rush me right away. The militia Not able to do anything really in these tight corners, but my towers are well placed. We have at least 2 towers that are guarding this path, and this third one here did seem to get some shots off, or maybe just was never full of staff, or never full. In here, I probably should have waited a little longer and got a little bit better formation on these swords, but this is where having those sword fighters is really nice, as I am able to get the swords to the pikes, and then my knights to his knights. This tower going to be really nice, as he is throwing rocks now, and my militia doing the job. They are going to die, but they are doing exactly what you want them to do, and that is to keep them away from the melee. So I'm distracting the forces and splitting these guys up, and they're going to help keep the ranged away from the fight, which will give me life. And Botso arrives with reinforcements to help block off this army that is very close to the barracks. Still 1 tower here to defend. These militia, even though they're surrounding these mounted units, they're not going to last long enough to get any kills, as they are getting shot like flies. Botso here though, and ready to help engage. Trying to get at least a little bit of formation, but in this situation it could be fine to just walk in and attack, as well, it was probably just fine for him to attack. Should have went in, some of my knights would have survived, but nevertheless. You don't really need strong formation if you're going to be flanking guys that are already engaged, because they're not going to turn around and fight you because they already have a target. But Botso's here, and To's knights are fighting underneath the tower. And I am able to produce a couple more knights. Not really anxious to get down here and fight these pikes, unless these ones on the line right here, which are already fighting, don't really want to see your knights turn around, or pikes turn around and start fighting your knights. Romek doing a good job chasing down these ranged, and as well as adding soldiers here into the mix. This is a nice catch, as I am getting 3 units on 3 units fighting the 2 units fighting. It'd be even better if his knights were attacking my knights, perhaps. And here's the tower getting a few more kills. Very nice. And here, not ideal, as his units are outnumbering mine. Tower getting more kills, very nice. That knight getting just out of the way as the rock was coming. And To just barely survives that encounter with 2 knights alive. Tower getting yet another kill. And here, he is killing serfs bringing weapons to the barracks. And killing a horse carrying, or a serf carrying a horse, which is a very nice tactic to do. Whenever you have a knight and soldiers in your enemy's base, you want to target the guys carrying the nice resources. Here you see I made these 2 road plans, so the knight would be distracted on killing the laborers and such, so the serf would get a moment to walk around, as he's blocked here, so we'll find another path, and then he goes around. And that little maneuver right there was enough to save a horse, which is actually a pretty big deal. Army's still just collecting and stuff. I guess I can turn the speed up now, as To's knight is going to get caught here. I'm having starvation in my base, and I already lost quite a few serfs, so my base is dead for a while. To doing a good job of maneuvering this knight around, exploring my entire base before he gets caught. And though I lost my entire army, I think we really came on top of that. To lost about 30 knights in the encounter. Well, probably only about 25, as that's what he had at peacetime. And Koczis lost just about his entire army. I think a lot of these bows here were just retrained. As you know, he did lack quite a bit of... Well, no, here you are. These are probably that leftover leather, for the most part, that was left over at peacetime. So, he did save most of his bows, but you can see his pikes are just about eradicated. Toe getting his knights in there just in time to get a few kills before the tower kills any knights, or the bows manage to kill any knights. And this is a situation when you're playing as the top locations. What you really want to be in is have location 2 helping and enforcing. A lot of times, what these guys can do on top is choose where to fight the bottom locations, even though they're a bit inferior to the top locations. These guys really help control the battlefield, as these 2 guys right here, they're right next to each other. They're really good at supporting each other. There's no way you can fight location 4, for example, without 5 helping, and location 2 kind of the odd man in the game, having a hard time reinforcing, and location 3 even kind of has to go all the way up through here to reinforce, because if he goes this way, then this army can kind of just turn around and block him off. So this is kind of a situation you want to be in as the top, where these guys are kind of forced to defend location 1. And that's really what you want to do as the top locations, is pressure on location 1 so they have to defend it. If you fail to do that, then they will gain the map control and inevitably win the game if their armies are matching. And we see some nice knight kills by myself and Romek. Bludmaster's mass militia just are not able to hold up without enough range support. And our armies now shift our eyes over to these bows of Toe, which are doing a nice job getting kills. During the fight, I try to sneak some knights down in here. Instead of electing to go into his base, I figure my superior number of militia can try to do a good job swarming the knights, as if they were caught in these coal mines, for example, no way would they get any kills, as the knights would kill them in close corners. But the decision working, swarming the knights was able to kill all of those guys Toe sent to help prevent me from infiltrating Koczis' base. And meanwhile, over here, we see another engagement. You can see I did lose my knight there, but it was just enough. You see all these bows turn around and shoot at my knight, and that was maybe 40 arrows that I kept from killing Romek's army over here, and that's good trade enough, if you ask me. One of the biggest abilities knights have is the ability to distract arrow fire, not only out of fights when you're dancing in front of bowmen to push, but also during fights, and that's exactly what I did there. Was able to keep the arrow fire focused away from Romek, and there was a long enough where you can see Romek looking like he was going to lose that battle, came out on top, even with inferior archer numbers supporting. And now we can see hungry recruit. They always go to eat when your base is being invaded. It's a real pain. And now the armies over here are able to kill these bows quite effectively. And there's really nothing they can do. They can run into the base, but they're going to get stuck on these tight corners and then by serfs. And they're all going to die eventually anyway. So nice idea to just defend by the towers. And stationary units are much more likely to get killed by towers throwing stones and moving ones, and they do have to stop for a moment to kill archers. So getting the most out of their units here, killing quite a few soldiers. You can see Koczis has quite a few towers inside of his base, so he's probably going to survive for now, as these melee are just not going to be enough to kill these bows, as they are positioned quite nicely in several layers. And there you go, one sword left is not enough, although there are some knights coming. I don't believe there's any engagements going on over here. Lots of towers. There's like 30 towers on the screen that we can see right now. I don't want to take the time to check them though, as too much going on in Koczis' base. As you can see, Koczis and my base have both been raided. My base a bit better, and probably lost a few more serfs than Koczis. Well, he does have less right now, of course. But I'm continuing to starve, and Koczis is doing fine in regards to food. And the bottom side reinforcing, getting back into the game and repelling, and maybe even having enough for a counterattack. Hard to say. Their army does have inferior quality to ours. We'll speed the game up a little bit. And Koczis seeing both towers actually were both recruits were actually hungry. This guy miraculously getting enough time to eat. I probably had this tower blocked off and forgot to refill it. So he actually has no stones, and they're gonna find that out soon enough. They go in here and they have enough to do the damage. Botso over here with reinforcements, but they're just kind of standing around with a rally point, not doing any good at the moment. And finally coming over. However, these knights in the bottom are just too much, and it's going to be hard for them to counter. This knight definitely going to fall to the pikes, but with Botso's army range support here, they're able to pick off the remaining melee units, and that army died a lot faster than you might have thought. Every once in a while, knights and merchants will throw up luck not in your favor, and they really drew the short straws there as the units just melted away. And knights, of course, being the very ideal unit, always fighting well in close quarters, as they are the strongest melee fighter, trainable melee fighter in the game, and able to catch those slow militia quite easily before they can really do any serious damage. Although now I am down less serfs than Koczis now. Koczis' base looking much more efficient than mine, as he does have some nice leather being produced, and could switch over to axe fighters perhaps, although he's more geared to a lance carrier economy perhaps. Though he is producing pikes, so perhaps it would be wise to switch over to axe fighters and maybe some crossbowmen. Romek and I doing a nice job killing those militia off before we're getting caught. So we get some kills with no losses. One nice ability of knights, since they are the fastest, with the exception of scouts, of course, the fastest trainable unit. So they are able to swoop in, do the damage, and get out before reinforcements come. And you can see Botso's meta strategy going for the main superior strategy, normal strat, that has been explored much more, is able to get many more quality units out, and his army is much stronger. And it's because of that reinforcements that our army up here is preventing the superior numbers of Bludmaster because of his militia, but inferior quality armies are it really can't be matched. And here is a storm, of the most effective storm I've seen in quite a while, actually. As Koczis doesn't get his melee ranged out in time. And another knight swoop. Botso's range being chased away by this pike, but it's too late. My pike knights up here gonna do the damage to these pike, but not before they get one kill. 3 kills. Wow. That knight there getting killed by the remaining 3 bowmen or so that were shooting at him. Very nice kills by Koczis. Finally getting some lucky hits in this game, as they have been unfortunate with that the entire time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 or so, 9 or 10 militia. Trying to catch 9 or 10 militia, to kill them with 2 knights. Not the best decision. We really could have caught them a little later, probably. They were walking around this lake. It wasn't really necessary to sacrifice 2 knights to catch those militia, but nevertheless, the game is it's all over but the crying now, as they say. That sounds a little arrogant, forgive me. But nevertheless, Koczis' base is being plundered by these knights, and that is GG, as there's really not much the bottom teams can do to prevent Koczis from being knocked out of the game. And on a 3 versus 2 situation, the guys are eventually going to lose out, even though they do have a good capability to defend each other and reinforce, they can kind of just camp here. But in the end, though my base is effectively dead and worthless at this point, although wow, I have quite a few militia and some horses in here, so I could trade away for some iron or something. But nevertheless, these guys aren't going to be able to continue without their teammate. So GG was called there. The game didn't end, of course, because I accidentally stopped it earlier. But here you see Bludmaster having by far the most soldiers equipped, but militia just not able to do the damage. And it unfortunately just makes your stats look kind of bad in the fighting regards, but really there's not a whole lot you can do when you're being outshot by mass moment from Botso. And you see Koczis producing almost as much, well, not quite almost, but not many soldiers less than location 2, which is apparently the strongest location on the map. As he did go pike and bow, so he is able to produce more units, and his kill stats were fairly nice by using pikes. If you look at this, 171 lost and just a few less defeated. Even out against a stronger army with Botso is not too bad. Romek getting by far the best kills, doing very nice with his night maneuvers. Really good fighting stats from him. That's almost double 200. Oh, not quite. If you kill double what you've lost for every soldier you equip, you kill 2 enemy soldiers. That is very good. Wonderful stats. Just getting maybe 20% more kills is good. Myself losing the most, but also producing by quite a bit the fewest soldiers, as my base did not work because I foolishly ran out of food. I believe I went single bakery this game, and that's just not going to work. You can't feed your city with just one bakery, and even one fisherman and one bakery is just not enough. Then we see lots of axes made from Bludmaster, and I believe most of them were equipped. The most gold also being produced. And I want to see, there's a maximum of 200 gold ore, and you see Toe and Toe and Bludmaster both almost reaching that limit, just above here where this resources box is. I imagine the 200 line is, 200 mark is. Horses, producing a bit more horses, but I believe Toe trained more knights just because he was able to use more of them, probably. As he did make, you can see, a little bit more swords than me. Pretty neck and neck on the iron, but still, we both went double stable, and Romek only having 1, thus the doubling amount. Well, anyway, it was a fun game. It was a fun game to play, and I hope it was an interesting game to watch. You see some random strategies. I know I've uploaded yet another shoutcast where I win, and I'm starting to get that feeling people are going to start making fun of me for that, and I apologize, but I really had to show this one, as I've tried several times, and hopefully this time it turns out, because it was a really funny game, and I'd like to play more games like this, just playing for fun, doing random things, old school style, militia spam, good quality stuff. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next shoutcast.